Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to the fourth episode of Dirty Chess Tricks against Sicilian. In this lecture, I'm going to show you some of the wonderful tricks against Sicilian Accelerated Dragon, which arises after the move order e4, c5, knight to f3, and black plays over here knight to c6. Main line goes as follows, so plays the move d4. C captures d4, knight captures d4, and here black respond with the move g6. So idea is to play the move bishop to g7, knight to f6, castle on the king side, and then quickly look out for the move d5 at the right time. Now against this opening, I have already created a video. So if you haven't seen that, I strongly recommend that you can go and watch that video. I have also highlighted the link in the annotations, and still if you can't find it, just search in YouTube Sicilian Accelerated Dragon by GJ Chess and you are able to see my video. However, this is a new video, so that's why I'm going to show you some of the new tricks in this variation. Now especially for this opening, I'm not going to recommend knight to f3. Instead of that, I'm going to propose at this junction, you should play the move knight to c3. The usual move goes as knight to c6. Afterwards, white has this second good move, that is bishop to b5. So idea is that bishop wants to capture the knight and giving black a double pawn. If your opponent allow you to do this, then I strongly recommend that you learn the theory of Sicilian Rosolimo or Sicilian Grand Prix attack, where these concepts are explained very beautifully. The main move over here is knight to d4. However, one can ask what happens after queen to c7. Well, here white will continue with the move knight to f3, and after the usual response, that is a6, yes, definitely black is going to grab the bishop pair, but in return white has tremendous leading development. So you can already see white has developed his two minor pieces, the queen is attacked, and in the next move white is able to castle on the king side. So all in all, this is a wonderful compensation for the white. So that's why it's very essential for black that at this point black has to play the move knight to d4, which also attack the bishop. Here white will continue with the move bishop to c4, and now there are two moves has been tried. The main move of the Accelerated Dragon is to play the move g6. Afterwards, white will continue with the move either knight to f3, or let's say in this game, white plays the move knight to e2. Here, usually black continue with the move bishop to g7. Afterwards, white has this amazing move, that is knight captures d4. And at first sight, it looks completely stupid, because black can easily capture this knight with the c pawn, which not only equalize black instantly, but that d pawn is a monster in white camp. And also black is achieved the trump of the Sicilian, that is getting the c file open. So the question is, why white is doing all this? Well, if I told you that c captures d4 create an amazing high profile trick just in the fourth move of the game, then you will be amazed. It doesn't look like black has any weaknesses in his camp, and still white obtained the advantage. Let's see how. So the first move white has to play is queen to f3. So you can already see black doesn't have any time to capture the knight because there is a mate on f7, and accordingly black has few responses. I have reached this position 10 times in my game, and most of my opponent has choose either the move knight to f6 or e6, where both leads to the wonderful tricks. Now, if black wants to play the accurate move, then he has to play the move knight to f6, which hardly be considered by your opponent. The simple reason is, let's say if even black played the move knight to h6, then white will continue with the move d3. So now white is threatening to play the move bishop captures h6. So black has to castle on the king side. Afterwards, white will continue with the move knight to e2, and the usual line goes with the move d6, trying to get in the move bishop to g4, which is white prevent with the move h3. And now you can see the problem with that knight. That knight is completely out of the game, and it will take a while for black to reroute that knight and coming back in the game. So that's the main reason why not many of your opponent is going to play the move knight to h6. The most frequent response is knight to f6, but this is also a big mistake, because here comes the first trick on the table. White is going to play the move knight to b5, and straight away white will be a pawn up. Now there are two ways black can defend this d4 pawn, but all miserably fails. So if black continue with the move e5, then this is already a disaster, because you can already see that a juicy d6 square is asking to be hit, and we are definitely going to put our knight on the d6 square with a check. And after king moves, for example king to f8, then knight to f7, and white is completely winning. So e5 is prohibited. Same can be said for the move queen to b6, because now black has a huge problem after this move, that is e5, bam. Please note, if the knight moves, then there is a nasty happening on the f7 square, and I have reached this position against a player who is 2000 plus, and after a long thinking he responded here with the move knight to h5. So his idea is to protect the bishop when I take on f7. However, I found a stronger move, that is g4. So that knight is attacked, the f7 is attacked, and black is in a miserable position. He come out from all this difficulty with a very good move, that is queen to c6. But after a few calculation, I go with this line, which gives a clear advantage to the white. So here I continue with the move bishop captures f7 check. He played king to d8, and now I played the move knight captures d4, which more or less forced the issue, because now black has to capture the queen. I recapture with my knight, and now my opponent played the counter-attacking move, that is rook to f8. No problem, I defended my bishop with the move knight to g5. He played the move h6, which is a weaker move, because now after a few exchanges, that is g captures h5, h captures g5, h captures g6, and bishop captures e5, the dust is clear and white has come out 2 pawns ahead from this whole transaction. Not to mention there is a loose king on d8, and white's g pawn is just 2 steps away from the queening. So seeing all this, it's very obvious that the best move over here is to play the move e6, which at first sight looks too good. But again, there is a problem, and the problem is when white plays the move knight to b5, then the d6 square is hanging. Now there are few ways black can try to defend the d6 square, but they all miserably fails. The only good reply is d6, but let's see what happens if black plays other replies. If the queen b6, then the simplest of all is queen to f4, and then you can already see there is no stopping on c7 and d6. If the move bishop to e5, then white can continue with the move c3, and after d captures c3 and d4, in the view of stopping knight to d6 check, bishop has to go all the way back to the b8. But after this, white can capture the c3 pawn, and not only white is ahead in development, but you can already see that dark square around the black king side becomes severely weak, and that bishop on b8 is severely misplaced. So this is almost a great positional advantage. If black plays the move d5, which at first sight looks too good, but the problem over here is white can continue with the move e captures d5, and if black plays the move a6, then after d captures e6, threatening a checkmate on f7, so black has to capture with the pawn, and now white will retrieve his knight back to the a3. So after all this, white emerged with a clear pawn up, but also black king is somewhat open and the center is not stable. So this position is also wonderful for white. So considering all this, the d6 move looks best as per the situation. And after this move, it doesn't look like white has any sort of tricks left. Well, here comes an amazing trick. Before we're going to see it, I like to thank I am Valery Liu because I have learned this trick from one of his game. Now, I want you to pause over here and find a wonderful move which confirms a great advantage to white. Okay, I hope you find this move, that is queen to a3. So double attack on d6. There are two ways black can defend, but the first one, that is bishop to e5, looks pathetic because it's only allow white to enhance its development via the move castle and same time creating a threat of f4. So this cannot be good. So the only move looks like is bishop to f8. Afterwards, white can simply capture the d4 pawn. And the trick is finished right there. Then you may be asked what white have achieved. Well, if you carefully look at the position, after the white's knight captures d4, black's every single piece are sitting at its original position while still he is a pawn down. Isn't that amazing? And on top of everything, white has 3 pieces already in the game. So this is one of the very high profile trap, and I'll give you guarantee many higher rated players are going to fall for it. Now before we go and look at the second trick, there's one question need to be answered, that what happens if black played the move d5? Because it looks like there's a discover attack on the queen and black can regain the pawn. Once again, I like you to pause the video and find a sequence where white can retain his extra pawn. Okay, so the first obvious move is to giving a check, and after the move bishop to d7, white should capture this bishop, and after queen captures, white has this very strong move, that is queen to g3, and this is more or less confirms a pawn advantage. Obviously, black cannot capture this pawn at this junction because if d captures e4, then after queen to e5, black has the only move left, that is f6. Afterwards, white is going to be pawn up not only by capturing the e4 pawn, but there's a pressure on a6 pawn as well. So that is not possible. And if black try to be tricky and playing the move bishop to g7, then after the move e5, queen to c7 and f4, queen to b6 and c3, finally white has consolidated his position and remain a pawn up. So please remember this queen to g3 move if your opponent plays the move d5. Now the second move black can try over here is to play the move e6. So going back into the realms of Taimanov or the Khan variation, well, here white will continue with the move knight to e2, and the whole idea is to play the move knight to e7 and then quickly go for the move d5. Well, it looks so good, but the problem is white is in fact allowing this move d5 and go for the castle. At first sight, the black's position looks tremendous after the move d5, because after e captures d5 and e captures d5, it's attacked the bishop and black has already covered up the center, which limits the activity of the white pieces. So far, every move black has played is quite good, but there is a problem that Right now, black king is stuck in the center. So that gives privilege to the white to sacrifice a material. And here comes the another boom. Knight captures d5. So let's see what happens if black accepts this piece sacrifice. In fact, black has to. Otherwise, black will be a pawn down for nothing. So knight captures d5. Now the following lines are very forceful one. So first, white will capture this knight. And after c captures d4, white will play this move, that is queen to h5. So attacking two spots. The main spot is the d5 square, and if the knight moves, then there is an attack on the f7. Black has the only decent move, that is bishop to e6. Of course, black can play over here knight to e7, but then black will have a long king dance, and those positions are quite good for the white. So bishop to e6, protecting the d5, and now white will play the move rook to e1. So once again creating a pin, and now that knight is definitely hanging. So far I reached this position 2 times. In the first game, my opponent responded over here with the move knight to f4, which at first sight looks so good because it's attacking the queen and at the same time protecting the bishop. But white has a very strong move over here, and that is, bishop to b5 check. The only move is king to e7. Afterwards, the very simple move, queen to g4, not only regaining a piece, but black king will remain in the center for a long time. So that cannot be good. The second move tried is bishop to e7, which at first sight looks so good, but it has a problem, and that is, boom, rook captures e6, and that pawn is pinned, so black cannot do about that rook. Here my opponent continued with the move g6 and thought that he will win my rook in the next move, but after queen to e5 attacking the black rook, castle on the king side, I simply capture the knight on the d5, and the game is finished right there. The further moves played like this. So my opponent captured my rook, I capture the e6 pawn with my bishop, and this is a forced check which black has to block with the rook, and now I played the move d3. So after the whole fireworks, you can easily see when white is going to capture this rook, the material will be balanced as far as the pieces are concerned, but in terms of pawns, white is 2 pawns ahead in the game, and black has weak pawn on the d4. So those are some of the wonderful and high profile tricks in Accelerated Dragon. And do not forget to watch my previous video, which also contains lots of tricks and traps against Accelerated Dragon. Well, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on my video, and I'll meet you in my next episode. Bye.